From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hey, you found us, and we are so glad you did. My name is Sven Erlandson. This is the Badass Counseling Show. It's so great to have you here, whether you are checking in from Romania or Queensland, Norway, or the Virgin Islands, Edmonton to Glenwood Springs, Colorado, or Des Moines to Portland, Oregon. We are so glad to have you tuning in to the Badass Counseling Show. I am joined in studio by two fine people who make this whole operation run. First, I've got KC sitting next to me. KC, how are you this evening?
I'm doing just great.
Thanks.
How are you?
Thank you. Good to have you here. And Rob the Rocket in his usual spot running the whole operation. Rob,
Hey.
What say ye?
I was up at my college over the weekend for their 200th anniversary.
Wow.
Thousands of aging geeks running around. I felt right at home.
Now, is that where you did your master's work or your undergrad?
My undergraduate degree happens to be in engineering, but I majored in business.
And you were part of the radio station there.
That's right, and I visited their open house, and they're doing fine. Doesn't sound like it did in the 60s, but hey, it is different. It's not better or worse. Okay?
And for those of you who don't know Rob's story, he started in college in a radio, doing college radio, and he rose to the level of senior vice president at a major motion picture studio. And this guy's the man. And he's retired, and he does this just for the love of the work and for helping people. As does KC. We just love being here for you all.
We could never do any of this without Rob.
100% true. All right, Rob, go ahead and tell us about our two guests this evening. We've got Celeste and Rikki.
Happy to, Sven. First, we heard from Rikki. She said, I'm 24 and a mom to a 4-year-old boy, but I am still attached to my mother. I have not spoken to her in about 4 months, and yet she still owns me. Since childhood, I have always felt attached as if I am her parent. She's diagnosed bipolar and alcoholic. That denies it all. I was the golden child that took care of the younger children and liked whatever she liked. Now I'm struggling with my own actions and behaviors regarding self-sabotage and destruction. I'm exhausted of running. I'm ready to reach down and pull out the fears and anger and pain, but how can I do that when every time I get to what I think I truly feel, I always go back to how she must feel? Throughout life, we have had many spats and yelling matches and actual physical fights. But now I live far away and have the time, energy, and space to hopefully heal, but I am afraid of losing myself yet again to the woman that already still has me. Distance, journaling, and digging have yet to be enough to break this damn cord. I so badly want to be my own person, to give back these boulders she set on my back as a kid, but I'm at a loss of how exactly to do this. And we also heard from Celeste, who is with us today. Celeste said, I'm married, about to be divorced from a narcissist. I found him with 4 different women. You've said when it hurts bad enough, that's when change happens. I've been digging up dirt all summer, intentionally self-inflicting pain to make it hurt enough so I can leave. But I still can't let this guy go. I have journaled, written letters I haven't sent, and some I did send. I know he is unhealthy. I know we have no future. To say brief, I've had bullshit stacked around me 6 feet high my whole life. Is my tolerance for emotional pain so high I will go to extensive lengths to inflict needless pain upon myself? Every time I try to block him and cut the last string that connects us, this odd fear creeps in. My chest gets tight, I can't breathe, and I stop myself. How do I disconnect once and for all, and what am I so afraid of?
Welcome to the show. Good to have you here. All right, I'm going to start with you, Celeste. First question: you start by saying, or you end by saying, you mentioned that he cheated on you with 4 different women, and every time you try to disconnect, this odd fear creeps in. My chest gets tight. I can't breathe. I stop myself. How do I disconnect once and for all? What am I so afraid of? I'm going to ask you a very dumb question, Celeste. And the simple question is this, and I want you to take a shot at it. Even if you don't know the answer, I want you to guess, knowing you can change your mind in 2 or 4 minutes or in 2 months. And my simple question is this: why? What keeps you from disconnecting? What is the fear, is the question. What is the fear?
I'm afraid that I'm going to be alone.
May I ask how old you are, Celeste?
I'm 43.
Go ahead.
We were in a car accident together about 4 years ago. He was driving and drinking, and I didn't have my seatbelt on, and I was paralyzed in the accident. I've done about 3 years of his drinking and carrying on and manic depressiveness. And then about 2 years ago, he started running around with other women.
Is it reasonable to assume that when you started finding him, it hurt, right? Reasonable to assume?
Yeah.
Okay, so back when
It
you...
hurt.
Of course it did. So a minute ago you said the fear is the fear of being alone. What is it in being alone that is so terrifying to you? If you were to really drill down, what is it about being alone? Is it that now I got to pay my own bills? Is it that, now all those voices from childhood saying I'm no good or whatever those messages were, that those come rising up? Is it that now I have to sleep alone? Is it that I fear an empty house and, noises freak me out? What precisely, in one sentence or less, is it that you fear so much about being alone that you would stay with someone who has cheated on you with 4 different women? I'm not scolding you. I'm just asking a very pointed question. What really does it boil down to?
I don't feel like I'm going to ever be worth anything to anyone. My family's gone. I don't have any support system at all. And he's the only one that gives me attention, negative or not.
Okay. And so you actually said 2 different things there. I believe your opening sentence was, I fear that I'm not going to ever be with someone or have anyone, right? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
And then you followed up
Yes.
by saying, I don't have family, et cetera, et cetera. So on one hand, you're saying I won't ever have anyone, as in could imply I'll never have another lover, I'll never have another boyfriend, another husband. But then you went on to talk about I don't have any family. So is the real issue I fear never having a lover and mate and companion for life? Or is it that I fear just not having anyone around me? Any friends, any support system at all?
Anyone at all.
All right. And so then, and what about that? If at the thought of being alone and not having anyone, what's the hardest part about that?
Thinking about the next 15, 20 years.
Well, and if you're actually alone, it wouldn't be just 15 or 20 years, would it? It would be potentially 40 years, right?
Yeah. Or longer.
Or longer.
And I mean, this life has been rough. Learning how to live again for the last 3.5 years hasn't been easy either.
And yet, and you've done it.
I have. And I think I've been a tin man. I've been taking care of everybody else in the process and saying it's okay and not allowing myself to be hurt.
And the reason that you have been taking care of everyone else in the process and not allowing yourself to be hurt, in other words, to be in your illness, the reason you've been doing that is what?
That's what I've always done.
And
I've always
what's the fear driving
taking care of everybody.
Of course you are. You're taking care of everybody else. What's the fear driving the behavior? That if I don't take care of everybody else, what do you most fear happening?
I might actually face that I'm hurt.
Well, sure. But also isn't part, I mean, you open this whole thing by saying the fear of being alone. Isn't part of the fear that if I don't take care of everyone else, then maybe everyone is going to leave me and I really would be even more alone?
Yeah.
And so you just said, I've been taking care of everyone else. If he's the only person you have in your life, then who else have you been taking care of? Because you said to me, if he leaves, I won't have anyone. Well, who are these other people you're taking care of?
My mom is about the only one I take care of now.
I see. And okay. And so even if you left this man, you would still have your mother. Is that correct?
Sort of. We have a rocky relationship right now.
Okay. All right. And
we're going through this weird parental thing.
And what's the weird parental
She's
thing?
treating me
If you were to sum it up in 1 or 2 sentences, what's the weird parental thing?
She treats me like I'm 15 because she's been, I basically went back to being an infant for the last few years and she's been taking care of me. But then we've been butting heads and essentially she said to me the only reason that she took care of me and helped when I got injured was because she was such a shitty parent to me when I was a teenager.
And how did it feel when she said that?
Shitty.
Because she was basically saying what?
That she didn't care.
That's right. I'm only doing it out of a sense of guilt that I was such a shitty parent when you were a teenager. It's not like I actually want to take care of you. So she just created, so the problem she created in your childhood, she just made worse by saying that. And it made you, right? And the fact, it took away any good feelings you had that your mom was taking care of you when your body was broken down, right? I mean, it just washed it all away.
Yeah.
Exactly. I want to flip over to Rikki here. Rikki, you've been talking about in your write-up, you were talking about how you and your mother have a unique relationship and how you've basically been dependent upon her and how she has basically owned you. And, you know, I growing up, I was her parent. And I had, you know, I like whatever she likes. I was the golden child, but I had to take care of my younger siblings and I would like whatever she likes. And now you're struggling to, you know, find your own actions and your own sense of self. And so let me ask you, in your case, Rikki, what fundamentally, if you were to drill it down to one sentence, what fundamentally is the fear at the root of your staying so connected to your mother? What keeps you from walking away and giving yourself space?
I think the weirdest part of it all is it's the biggest fear is being her.
Is becoming
and
her.
I compare myself. Yeah.
You compare yourself to her.
Yeah.
And what precisely is the fear in becoming her? What is it about her specifically that you most want to not become?
Everything. The lack of empathy she has for people, the terrible drinking habits, the actions and behaviors, everything she does.
So you fear becoming her. So basically, if I'm hearing you correctly, then if I fear becoming someone, or I don't want to be, oh boy, I don't want to be like Jim. Basically what I'm saying is Jim's a fucking dick. I don't like Jim. I don't want to be near Jim. I don't like Jim. Jim sucks. Okay. But you're not saying, you know, I like so many things about my mom, but there are one or two things I really don't want to pick up. No, you're saying everything. So this is a person that you really, really, really dislike.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you, I mean, you know, you are the golden child. You were showered with love, I would think, or something. I mean, that's normally what a golden child is. Come on. What was the horrible part? What fundamentally does it boil down to in your 24 years of existence? What, if you were to sum up your mom's crime against you, whether it was a one-off or a thread running through all that she has done in her treatment of you in your lifetime, what fundamentally is your mother's crime that she has committed against you? Sum it up.
Treating me as a burden. When I did get love, it was because of the things I did. And even just last year, she told me she wished she would have aborted me.
She told you that?
Always feeling like, yeah.
And just so I'm clear, she says she wish she would have aborted you. Now, is that because, gee, I don't like you now? Or is because, you know, I couldn't get an abortion in my state? What do you think? What was she commenting on? How hard it was back then? Or, gee, I just don't like you?
All of it. I think at the moment, it was in the moment, but it was also about how we've been going through cycles for years.
Now,
the same cycles.
And what for you is at the root of the cycle?
Believing her and not believing in myself and going back to her and allowing her to consume me and then ending up in fights.
And when you say believing her, and what fundamentally are you believing? Is it believing in her or believing when she makes promises or gives you hope or something?
That she can change. Yeah.
And has she in the past indicated a desire to change and you believe her and then she lets you down yet again? Is that what we're talking about?
Time and time again, yeah.
Well, that indicates if you're believing her, that indicates you're wanting to believe her. And if she's letting you down, that implies you're getting your hopes up. All of this is saying you want something from her. You're wanting something from her. Otherwise, you wouldn't be hanging around her. There's this person you have no desire to be like. You are wanting something. Obviously, you want something. Otherwise, you wouldn't get your hopes up. You'd be like, no big deal, I'm out of here. If you were to drill it down, what fundamentally is it that you most ultimately want from your mother?
An apology.
And precisely for what?
For putting me down, kicking me every time I got down, for not listening to me, for not giving me the time of day, for everything that she put me through. and just admitting her wrongs. She can't admit anything.
Whoa, language check there. She can't admit anything, or she won't admit anything? I'm asking
won't.
Can't. Okay, won't. So it's not can't. She can. She just chooses not to. Okay. So, and that's almost worse because she's fundamentally conveying, I don't care enough. I'm going to protect myself rather than protect you. So my question to you then is, if you got that apology, then what? If you got her and she acknowledges it and she admits it and she apologizes, then what?
I guess I would think that she could change, and then that would mean that I could change. I think I just don't believe that I can fully change.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, if what would happen then also, so then you can change, she apologizes, then you can change, then what? What happens in your life, either outside of you or inside of you? You're wanting this apology so that something what? What comes after the apology? Then what?
My anxiety of not being able to stop all this in my head, and the anxiety and the depression of whenever I think about this stuff, it all go away.
The anxiety and the depression would go away. And if the anxiety and the depression went away, then what?
I would have so much time in my day.
Okay. And if you had time in your day, then what?
I could spend it on the things I want to, like parenting my child and making sure I'm not screwing him up.
So this whole thing with your mom is taking away from the parenting of your own child.
I don't want it to.
But I admire your courage for admitting it. And if you were spending time on the stuff you want to and spending time on parenting, then what?
I would be happy.
How about that? Fundamentally, you can't be happy. In your brain, I can't be happy until mom apologizes. I can't be happy in my life. I can't live my life my way. I can't parent my own child until I get this thing from my mother. So when you use the phrase, which I know you got from my book and my work, that she owns you, she does. It's you are in a jail cell and one and only one person has the key, and you believe it to be her, that only she can set me free. Your entire fate rises and falls based on the whims of your mother, because only she has the power to set you free so that you can then be happy. Am I out in left field, or am I like on Mars here?
No, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Celeste, what in the story there that Rikki was telling, what in the story rings a bell for you or resonates with you, Celeste?
Her mom never wanting to be wrong.
You know something about that?
A little bit.
And
my mom is never wrong,
And what is it you're wanting from your mom, Celeste?
To let me be the person I am. Go ahead. Because she was traumatized by my dad for so many years. I'm not allowed to have any traits anywhere near what he is because she hates him so badly. Now he's passed away, and I've always said it's better to remember the good parts of him now and let the rest of it go. And she, anytime I bring up anything remotely significant of my dad, she loses her mind. And I'm always wrong.
Okay, fair enough. Let me ask you an odd question, Celeste. And the question is this. In your estimation, and this is a question only you can answer, okay? Only you can answer this question. I can't answer this question. Rob can't. KC can't. What percent was your mom a good parent? What percent was your mom a bad parent?
I'd say 75 bad, 25 good.
75% a bad parent, 25% a good parent. And just out of curiosity, you had mentioned earlier that you tend to serve people and go out of your way to help people. I'm betting that when you are assessing other people, or judging other people, whether you're at the grocery store or you're at work or whatever, you tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, but when you're judging yourself, you tend to be overly harsh on yourself. Would that be somewhat accurate?
Accurate.
Okay.
Very accurate.
Okay. So then would it be reasonable to assume that perhaps when you say your mom was 25% a good parent, that you might have been maybe giving her a little bit of benefit of the doubt? Or is that 25% good parent, is that fully accurate?
There's been some times that I've been able to count on her.
Okay, fair enough. You heard me talking with, Rikki there, and I had asked you, what is it you're still wanting? You're saying, I want mom to let me be who I am. What is the fear in being yourself, regardless of what mom says?
I don't have any fear of being myself.
Really? Because you literally just said, let me be who I am, which implies you can't be yourself unless you get her permission.
In her presence.
In her presence.
When I go out and I go to work, nobody cares about what happened between mom and dad.
Understood.
I can speak freely. So when I'm around her, I can't speak freely. I have to be an entirely alternate version of myself.
So she clearly has the power over you then.
Yeah, because financially I can't live without her.
Ah, there it is. And just out of curiosity, would your mother cut you off financially?
I don't know. I think we're close to that, and I'm ready to live on my own again.
And will you be able to make it, considering all you've been through, with your body and so forth?
I physically, yes. Financially is where we struggle at the moment.
And is that part of are you dependent upon, this person who's been cheating on you so much?
Not so much. He's more attention, and I don't know, some kind of hope that a ridiculous false hope that he's actually going to get his shit together at some point. And I don't know why, because I can't trust a word that comes out of his mouth.
Well, you already said why. You know why you're holding on. You know why you keep putting up with him. He's cheated 4 times. He's going to cheat again. He's going to cheat again. At 4, this is a pattern now. At 2, you're at a pattern. And 1 is bad enough. But no, he's going to cheat again. But you're so terrified, as you said, of being alone. Just out of curiosity, which is the greater fear, being alone financially or being alone by yourself with no one there? Emotionally.
No one there. Emotionally.
So you could figure out the financial part? Is that what you're saying?
I always have in the past. I've been on, rocky roads for the last few years because of medical bills and everything else.
Yep, understandable. We are actually going to come right back with more questions for Rikki and Celeste right after this short break.
My wife pushed me to watch this guy's TikTok videos, so I finally caved in, and holy crap, blew me away. I started watching more, and every time he opens his mouth, I get blown away in a whole new way. So I finally bought his book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. To say I got an ass kicking is an understatement. Much needed. It was like having my own personal tough therapist who just gets it. So go do yourself a favor. Get There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It's powerful stuff.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
We are back with Rikki and Celeste. Right. So, Rikki, let me ask you then, what would it take, do you believe? Or let me ask you this, what would be the hardest part if you were to walk away from your mother entirely? You obviously hate your mother. Or if not hate, you greatly loathe your mother. You want to be nothing like her. What fundamentally would be the hardest part about it?
I have no problem physically walking away and not getting anything from her. It's in my head. She's in my head, and I can't figure out how to walk away from her.
Okay. So you could physically walk away from her and have no contact with her basically for the rest of your life if it came to that.
Happily.
Okay. And so we're talking, so then when I write in the book, no man is truly free until he can live as though his father is dead. I'm not talking about the actual real life living, breathing father. I'm talking about the father or mother in this case inside of you, the one that pressed in all of those messages when you were younger. And so let me ask you, if you were to sum up all of your mother's messages from your childhood into one sentence, or pick the one that was the biggest, the one message about you or about your worth or about just you, what is the one sentence that you have most heard from her or that most antagonizes you inside of your own head?
Get over it. You should be 10 times better.
Get over it. You should be 10 times better. And let me ask you this. What is she really saying? What's the underlying message or the message behind the message, as my mother would say?
That my feelings don't matter. I need to buck up and just keep running.
Well, and the piece of you should be 10 times better, is she referring to in terms of what you've done with your life? Is that what she means? Or you should be 10 times better in terms of, you shouldn't be caught up in all these feelings, bullshit, don't be a pussy, that sort of thing. Which is it, the 10 times better part?
I got both. When I brought home A's and 1B, it was not good enough. And when I went through a traumatic experience, she told me to get over it real quick. Don't have feelings about it.
And to what degree do you actually allow your own feelings?
0. I have been for years using alcohol to get them out. I haven't actually properly looked at my feelings.
But I believe you've read my book and so forth. Did you do the actual exercises in the book when you were reading it and do them in writing?
Yeah.
You did?
Yep.
And did you encounter your feelings in any of that?
Yeah, and every time it would come up, in my head, I would go, yeah, that's how I felt. I wonder if that's how Mom felt, and that's why she's the way she is. Okay. I wonder if...
So you're trying to, let me take a spin with something here. In your work on your own self, it always comes back to Mom, and you're trying to understand your mom. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I see this a lot, particularly in situations where it's a adult child or even a child. It can be an adult child into their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And I have clients in their 70s, 80s, and they're still trying to crack the code of why did Dad do this? If Dad were still alive or if Mom were still alive, I'd want to ask her this one question, or Mom is still alive or Dad is still alive. And it's like, I don't understand why she did this. Okay. And ultimately, what it boils down to, if I'm trying to understand, except in cases of death, and I used to see this as a pastor when I would do funerals, but except in cases of death, if I'm trying to understand something very often, not always, but very often, I'm trying to understand it so that I can fix it. Because if I can fix it, then I can get the love I want. So if my husband left me, and I can't understand why he left. He never told me why he left. And I just want to have closure. It's not closure per se. Closure is just a word. It doesn't mean anything. What you're really wanting is to hear why. Because why? Then I can rebut it. Of course, I also want to tell him how much I'm pissed at him, right? But I'm wanting to be able to rebut it so that I hate being alone. I miss you, so that potentially I can get you back. And is it possible that what is keeping you stuck with your mother, and this goes to you as well, Celeste, is it possible that what's keeping you stuck in this loop with your mother, or at least part of it, is that you're still a kid? And I don't mean that, oh, gee, you're 24, you're a kid, or Celeste, you're 43, you're a kid. I don't mean it that way. I mean, inside of you is still that child so wanting the mother's love, so wanting the mother's adoring gaze, the kind words from all the shit neither of you ever got. You're still wanting it, that you're still a child who still loves her mother. What's keeping you stuck is that you love your mother. And it's not, in fact, the feelings of hatred and rage and anger that got to come out. Yes, those too. But it's all the feelings of love and longing and missing her and pleading, please, Mommy. That at the heart, you're still a 7-year-old little girl. Please, Mommy, I'll do anything. Please, just be nice to me. I'll do anything, Mommy. I'll take care of my siblings. I'll be perfect. I promise, Mommy. Is that possibly true or doesn't resonate at all?
Yeah,
That
and I
rings
don't want
very-
it to be true.
And Celeste, what about you?
That rings very true for me as well.
Right. Rikki, you had said it's true, but I don't want it to be true. And why don't you want it to be true?
Because there's no reason for wanting something that's never going to happen.
Oh, but wait a minute. That's true. Logically, it's true. But this is the 7-year-old in you. I wrote a chapter in the book and I said, children love parents more than parents love children. And you have a child and you know how much you love your child. But the truth is this, a child will endure far more at the hands of a parent than a parent would ever endure at the hands of a child. And both of you have eaten so much shit at the hands of your parents, at the hands of your mothers. In this case, you both happen to have mothers. And I don't think I'm overstepping here when I say, I really don't like either of your moms. I hate your moms. I really do for what they've done to you two. I really, really do. But bottom line, it's still that 7-year-old inside of you. And you can say, and I don't like that, yes, I do still love my mom and I'm still wanting her love and I love her so much, but I don't like it. Okay. So in a way, you're shaming that 7-year-old self inside of you. Why not just let that 7-year-old self have her voice? Let me ask you, Celeste, over to you. What does it feel like to you when I say that it's still love in there for your mom, wanting her love, but also that you still have love for your mother? What does that feel like inside of you, Celeste?
That makes me sad
What's the saddest part?
that I'll never get it.
Right. And you're 43 and Rikki is 24. So the burden that she's realizing now at 24, and I'm not saying this is the first time you've realized it, Rikki, okay, but that she's really getting the gravity of now at 24. You've been carrying that burden for basically 20 more years. And what does it feel like to know that you're never going to get that? You have a 43-year pattern of behavior on the part of your mother, a 43-year pattern. That's an unchanging pattern. What is the biggest feeling you feel at the thought that you are never going to get the love in return, considering all the love that you feel for your mother? What is the biggest feeling you feel? Give me a feeling word.
It makes me so bitter towards her.
Bitter. And if you were to sum that bitterness, and bitterness is in the anger food group, if you were to sum up that bitterness, that anger, that rage, that hatred, whatever it is, if you were to sum it up into one sentence, what is it you're most bitter towards your mother about? Sum it up.
Not being there for me when I was young, kicking me out when I was 15 and making me start on my own with nothing.
Wow. Not being there for you, kicking you out, making you start on your own. And what is the underlying message that a parent is sending to their child when they do those things? What is the underlying message that your mother sent to you by doing those things?
I don't want you.
I don't want you. Does that resonate with you, Rikki?
Yeah.
Right. You guys got to understand one thing. I mean, and it's very important you get this. When a child is born, okay, around 1, 2, 3, 4, in those early years, I don't know how it happens, but a child believes fundamentally, their core fundamental belief that precedes all others is whoever is raising them, usually mom and dad, so we'll run with that. It could be grandma that raised me or my aunt and uncle raised me, but mom and dad raised her. Okay. Mom and dad love me. Mom and dad are good. Okay. That's a 2-year. They don't cognate that. They don't actually think it. It's just true. It's as true as, Mommy, can I have another lollipop? It's as true as the lollipop in my hand. Mom and dad are good. Mom and dad love me. Therefore, if I'm not getting that love, I'm the problem. Something's wrong with me because they're good and they love me. I am the problem. And they were, you each had a mother who was happy to confirm that message for you. Yes, you are the problem. Right? All of your life, both of you, it's fucking obvious from what you wrote into us and from what you're saying to us that you fundamentally believe, both of you, that believe that you are the problem. It's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm mom. That's the family myth. That is the family story. And remember, family myths exist to protect the person at the top of the food chain. Mom, in this case, right? And you have believed since you were 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 years old, 9 years old, that you're the problem. Rikki, accurate or inaccurate?
Very accurate.
Celeste, accurate or inaccurate?
Accurate.
Okay, so then let me ask you this question. And I'll ask Celeste first, and then I'll ask you, Rikki. Tell me, now you interact with people, all right? You're out and about in life, in supermarkets, you bump into people and so forth. You were a kid once, you had friends who were kids and so on and so forth. Tell me, Celeste, what is it that a 7-year-old girl could possibly do to make herself, to justify the belief that I am no good, that I am unwantable, not just unwanted, I am unwantable? What could a 7-year-old possibly do to justify believing that she is innately, in her being, fundamentally flawed? What could a 7-year-old possibly do to justify that belief? Celeste?
Nothing.
Nothing. How about you, Rikki? What could 6-year-old you have possibly done to justify the belief that you suck so bad? What could you have possibly done at 6 or 9 or 11? Tell me, please.
I didn't do anything. I couldn't.
And let me ask you this. How old is your child, Rikki?
He's 4.
What could a 4-year-old possibly do to justify him believing that he's a piece of shit and he's not good enough and he's never good enough, and that he should be 10 times better? What could he possibly do or not do that would justify that?
Nothing.
Nothing. And yet, both of you were taught that, weren't you? Yes, you were. You both said it already. I got news for both of you. You were sweet, smart, creative little 7-year-old girls. You were ornery when you wouldn't get your nap. You'd maybe sneak a little extra cookie from the cookie jar. You were playful. You were all these things. There wasn't a damn thing wrong with you. You both got fed a load of horse shit, an absolute lie that functioned to serve the person at the top of the food chain. It served them at the destruction of your own sense of self. You have been taught a lie that was never true. Rikki, I asked you these questions of, well, then what? Then what? I want mom's apology. Then, my anxiety and depression would go away. Then I'd have time in my day. Then I could actually be a parent. And then I could be happy. You are trying to find an antidote. Mom's apology is the antidote. All right? It's the syringe, and they shoot it in you, and then you're fixed. And that's mom's apology. Celeste, you're wanting basically something similar. You said it yourself. You're wanting an antidote to a disease fundamentally that never existed, except in what they taught you about yourself. And I'm not saying, it's just in your head. But fundamentally, you were taught a lie that was never true. There was literally never anything wrong with you. And to this moment, there isn't. Except the bullshit they taught about you. Forgive me, but those fucking bitches taught about you. Fuck them. Who the fuck does that to a child? Sorry, but who the fuck does that to the child? How fucking disgusting is that? Celeste, tell me, how fucking disgusting is it?
Very. I've said it for years.
What are you feeling right now, Celeste?
Grief.
Exactly. And what fundamentally are you grieving, Celeste?
The fact that I know I'm never going to get it.
You're never going to get it.
Mom's never going to be mom.
That's exactly right. And your heart needs to grieve. And all that has to come out of you. And not just the crying, but putting it into words, journaling, writing more letters, the letters to her that I am grieving, that you do not send. This is about your grieving, not trying to get something anymore because you're not trying to get it. You're not going to get it. Give me a feeling word, Rikki. What are you feeling right now?
I feel sad.
What's the saddest part?
I feel sympathy for that 7-year-old.
You feel sympathy for that 7-year-old you. If she were here right now, I've got 7-year-old Celeste right here, and I've got 7-year-old Rikki right here. Rikki, what would you most want to say to 7-year-old Rikki? She's sweet. She's cute. She's right here. You can hold her beautiful face in your hands. You can push her hair back behind your ears. What do you most want to say to 7-year-old Rikki?
You are good just by being you.
Can you say something also soft and sweet and gentle to her?
You're beautiful and you're going to be okay. And you're loved and wanted.
Celeste, what do you want to say to 7-year-old Celeste?
It's okay to be you. You don't have to hide who you are. You don't have to have her approval to be who you are and to be a good person.
I want to bring KC into this conversation. KC, any thoughts or words here?
I have a couple of thoughts. I have a question for Celeste. How long ago did the accident happen?
It was in April of 2021.
And this accident, I think you said, left you paralyzed, and you're still paralyzed right now?
Yes. Yeah.
And this is all at the hands of the man that you are currently living with or involved with.
I'm married to. We've been separated for several years. He left about 2.5 years ago.
And I have to ask this question because you said that you're struggling financially, but did you sue him? I mean, you should not be struggling financially right now.
He's got nothing. Even if I did sue him, I wouldn't get a dime.
Did he have car insurance?
No.
That's unbelievable.
No.
I am so sorry this happened to you.
Yes.
I have to ask, which do you suffer with more, the abuse of your ex-husband or your mother?
I think I tolerate my ex-husband just because of the abuse from my mother.
Right.
For his attention.
Right. And part of the reason that we do that, Celeste.
It's almost like my husband becomes a Band-Aid.
That's exactly right. Because his mere presence, the mere fact that he is in your life, it, in a way, is confirmation of your worth. I must be good. This person wants to stay and pour love into my love cup. Even if he's a total crumb bum, even if he totally mistreats me and is a jerk to me, at least he's here. But if he walks away, then all those voices, that 7-year-old you was taught by your mom, all those voices come rising up from within you and they churn inside your head. See, you're no good. See, you're a loser. See, he's walked away. You can't even keep a man who cheats on you 4 times. God, you're such a piece of shit. Those are the voices. That's why you keep your fucking husband or ex-husband, whatever, is because at least by him here, those inner voices go away or they quiet some, because, well, at least someone's here. Someone likes me. I must have some worth. Does any of that resonate or is that off the mark?
I think you hit it right on the head.
Exactly. And that's what you were saying. He's the Band-Aid that makes the mom stuff go away. KC, what else did you any thoughts or comments for Rikki or Celeste here?
Well, for Rikki, I have a brother that suffered from bipolar, and I used to get into battles with him where I just couldn't make him make any sense. And I just struggled with that over and over again. I would try to reason with a person that was just not reasonable. And I cannot even imagine what it is like to be a child and have to be, the child of somebody that has bipolar. All I can say to you is that you are never going to make sense to her until she is under the care of a doctor and fully medicated and stay on her medication. And the best advice that I could give to you is until those conditions of your relationship are met, where she is in therapy and on medication, I would not go back. I would stay with her cut off and try to learn and teach yourself that you are always going to love your mother, most likely, but you don't have to be around her. You do not have to subject yourself to her. And I had to learn that with my brother, because I would always try to squash down the love. I don't love him. I'm not going to love him. And that's how I'm going to get over him. But then I realized that I was always going to love my brother, What I had to accept was that I did not have to put up with his abuse. I did not have to stay in a relationship with him. I could keep loving him if I wanted to, but I didn't have to keep putting up with that, and neither do either one of you two. Neither one of you deserve that. You're both beautiful, intelligent, emotionally intelligent women. You are both doing the work to get yourselves out of this. And I think you're going to get yourself out of this. I believe in the both of you.
One of the messages, those are really great points, and I want to sort of go off of one thing you said there. Rikki, you had mentioned earlier that your mom basically conveyed the message, get over it, you should be 10 times better. By saying get over it, what she's fundamentally saying, the underlying message, as you well know, is your feelings don't matter. Who you are, what's going on inside of you doesn't matter. I don't want to hear it. So you giving yourself permission to bring those feelings up and honor them, the love, the hate. I hate your mom. I'll be really honest with you. Celeste, hate your mom. If I'm honest. Now, do I want to harm them? No. I'm just saying these are the feelings I feel. Anybody who fucking does that to a child, sorry, fucking hate you. I do. And you've got to welcome up your feelings, because until you begin to more and more let those feelings up and honor the feelings that are fully fucking justified. The stuff that was done to each of you was dreadful. That's still being done. It's horrible. Let me ask you this question. I'm going to ask it to each of you. Rikki, which is the bigger crime for you? And it's different for every single person. There is no right or wrong answer. Which is the worst crime for you? What your mother did to you in your childhood and since, or in your 24. So what your mother has done to you, or that she's never atoned for it, that she's never owned it and apologized for it. Which is the greater crime for you?
Absolutely everything she's never atoned for, never admitted to.
Okay. And Celeste, which is the worst crime for you? All that your mother has done, or that she's never acknowledged it, owned it, apologized for it, atoned for it?
She's never owned it.
Right.
She is the perfect mother.
In her mind. Right. And you have to understand that for both of you, what the core belief inside your parent, I'm willing to bet, Rikki, that it's the same with your mom. Does your mother believe that she's a good mom?
Yes.
Right. And so the more, you guys have heard me say it before, but the more you invest yourself in anything, whether it's a child or your job or your hobby, or gee, I like Corvettes and I have 3 Corvettes in the garage, and I don't. But I'm saying if I did and I invest all myself, those Corvettes, that child, that job becomes a greater and greater percentage of my identity. The more you invest yourself in something, it just becomes part of your identity. And so in the case of both your mothers, they believe they are good moms. And that is, it's not just this thing out there. That is at the root of what they believe about themselves. So when you come along and saying, but you screwed up this, or I want you to acknowledge that, well, that didn't happen. They have to deny it. They have to absolutely deny it, because you are trying to take a wrecking ball in their brain. You're taking a wrecking ball to the very foundation of their fucking identity. They will reject it and reject it and reject it. Why? Because you're trying to tell me I'm bad. And that's not really what you're saying. What you're saying is, no, you did a lot of bad shit, but I still love you and I want a relationship with you. And they're saying, no, I'm not bad. I don't hear anything. That's what they're doing. Because they can't bear the thought that how they see themselves is absolute bullshit. So, as long as you are still wanting that, and it's okay to want that, it's very normal to want that love, to want that confirmation of your worth, but as long as you want it, you're going to be fucking miserable. So precisely as Casey says, you've got to welcome that love up and be willing to flush out and allow yourself to feel it. Because I love what you said, Celeste. I love what you said. You're grieving. You're both grieving. The loss of the love and the longing. You're still longing for that connection. The more you do this grieving work, the more you flush out and welcome the feelings of love. Just let yourself feel the love. Let that 7-year-old feel the love that she feels. And the more you do that, the more that voice of mom inside of you fades away. And this is you too, Celeste. You got to be doing this journaling work. It's not about whether or not you're in physical proximity to the person. Do I recommend generally getting away from the person? If you can, yes. But if you can't, you got to attack the one that's inside by welcoming all your feelings of love and longing and missing her and the sadness of that 7-year-old, of that 17-year-old, of that 19-year-old, and then in Celeste's case, the 33-year-old and the 41-year-old, and welcoming up all of their feelings. You have to, because remember, guys, what happened? When you were a kid, all this stuff that was done to you, you had these natural responses. Our feelings are just natural responses to a stimulus. It's like if I'm pounding a nail and I hit my thumb. My neighbors, a quarter up the street, Paul and Leslie, they're going to hear me screaming, "God damn it, motherfucker!" And I'm going to be crying and screaming and all this, right? It's a natural response to hitting your thumb with a hammer. When you guys were kids, all this stuff that was done to you, and as adults, you had natural responses, your feelings, but you weren't allowed to have your feelings. Your feelings didn't matter. You were told, get over it. And so what that little girl did was she took all those receipts, all those feelings, and she put them in a cigar box, wrapped it up in duct tape, and stuck it down deep inside underneath the bed next to the Christmas sweaters. And then she'd get another cigar box and fill that one up. And now you guys each have a vault full of all these cigar boxes, full of all your feelings. All those feelings you don't want to touch. It's scary. But the truth is, inside every one of those cigar boxes is your authentic self. Those were your authentic feelings. That was the real you. And the more you go into that vault and bring those out and feel them and put them into words, the freer and freer you become. And guess what happens? You're setting that 7-year-old free. And that 7-year-old is showing you who you really are by showing you what's in those boxes. So that 7-year-old is coming to you right now, handing you the cigar box full of those receipts, full of all your authentic feelings. And she's saying, please open it. I wasn't strong enough. You're stronger than I was. Please open it. Please let the feelings out so I can be free. And now if you don't let those feelings out, now it's you doing it. Now it's not somebody else, now it's you. Now it's you telling that 7-year-old, your feelings aren't important enough. That means each you has to have the courage to face it, to welcome those feelings up and to begin to journal that stuff out, writing those letters that you don't send. Now, I'm going to close the show out here, but I'd like it if each one of you would stick around after the show. We'd just like to do a couple of minutes with you after the show. Is that okay?
Sure.
So thank you so much, ladies, for being on the show. You've been wonderful guests, and you've opened up and you've helped us see inside the human soul, so vulnerable. Thank you so much for being on the show. And to all of our listeners around the world, thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of KC and Rob here in studio, have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by 2-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.